Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay, you can unmute. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Oh no, it's got my, I changed this, my background. I'm gonna.
That's okay.
No, it's not okay.
Well, it is fall. It's not.
I know, but the leaves are not looking, I mean, on some trees they're looking.
Yeah, it's not a total.
No, it's not totally false, but I had a,
very colorful.
I talked with my mosaics group because I take a mosaics class, and since we just had an election and I don't want to know who's winning,
I can tell you who's losing: America.
But I had this American flag in the background in the form of the United States. That was really cool.
Very nice.
But not the leaves.
We'll take what we can get. Yeah, well, no one knows. So
yeah.
For the next hour, I promise I won't say anything about anything to relate to that.
That's good, because I just had the news one for a little while.
Yeah, as did I. And I'm like, I'm going to stop doing this.
I know. It's a big mistake.
You know. It's okay.
Okay, I'm going to stop video so I can eat my salad. Nobody has to see me chowing down, but I'm here.
Okay, good. And we'll get started in like, I'll give people another minute or two. Normally, I like to start on time, but you know, people have to get off the other Zoom to get on this Zoom or pull out their microwave pasta dish or. You know.
Oh, and I usually say hi, hello, how are you to everyone. I don't.
Okay.
Start
well, I'm going to give people a chance to do a little bit of that.
Okay.
At some point.
Harold, what is that green sign behind you?
Oh, well, I will show you. This was a gift from someone in our Daily Minion, because every day at Daily Minion we have a famous Jew in the movies that Don Ehrlichman and Barbara present at the end of the service. It's a great little tradition we started. And this is a painting or a photo of the blackboard in the movie The School of Rock with Jack Black. And we were talking about it at some point, and I received this as a gift. So it shows like sort of, you know, all of the different rock genres that Jack Black was teaching his class in that movie.
I am so jealous because we don't do that on Sunday Minion.
Well, what can I tell you?
You can tell me we should do it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna, you know.
Well, Sunday morning we just have a bunch of funny Jews. That's all.
That's right. We're very serious in our other minions. So, hi everybody.
Hi.
All right. Well, it is 7:33, and I've got so much to do that if I waste any more time not doing it, we'll be frustrated. So if people come in as they do, that's great, and it's great that you're here to be together. I am Hazzan Harold, and
we're not,
and you're not. That's right. And I'm not Chevy Chase either. But a couple of years ago, it's already maybe feels like many years ago, I did this thing called Prayer by Prayer that some of you, I think, were a part of. Shabbat morning, we kind of went through the Siddur, literally prayer by prayer, to understand, to discuss, to debate, to sing a little bit. And all of that was in an effort just to, make people more literate and have a greater understanding of what's happening in the service. And I thought, let's try and do a similar thing, but take it maybe both within this class structure, but also if people are interested outside to study together in a chavruta kind of study partner thing, and give me a chance to kind of revisit, now it's many years later, some stuff that I think is that I've learned, and hear your questions, whether you're new to this or whether you've been praying for a long time. I've been praying for a long time, and I keep finding new stuff. So I figured maybe you could too. So we'll spend, this will be a monthly class. And once I get a sense of who's in it and who wants to continue, I will send out resources to you, and then I will kind of put a general email out for you to connect with each other. And if there's interest between the class sessions, we'll allow people to study together. If you want to, make a meeting with me one-on-one, we can definitely do that, especially if the class is relatively small. And that's kind of what we're going to do. And while I want to sort of lay out, month by month, there are definitely opportunities where if we get to point X tonight and we want to continue on with this, group of prayers in the next month, that's fine. So we don't have to feel like, oh, we only got, this far, but there's a lot more to do within each section. I'll talk about the different sections in a moment. So anyway, that is a very brief introduction, and I'm just glad you're here. So what I would like to do, if you're willing, and if you're eating and you're between bites, I wanted to ask you to just introduce yourself and answer a simple question, which is, what are you seeking from this class? What are you hoping to get out of this meeting? And then I'll kind of try to fill that in, and that'll help me to know kind of where to take things. So this does mean you need to participate a little bit. So get ready. Sharon, I'm just going to go on my screen. I don't know where you are and where, everyone's different, but, and I know we have someone calling in, and that's great. I will be showing stuff. I will be sharing the screen. So hopefully you'll have a way to look at the screen, and I'll be sharing PDFs of the Siddur. If you have a Siddur with you, that's great. If you want to take notes wherever, that's also fine, obviously. But Sharon, tell us a little bit about why you're here tonight.
Aside from the fact that I'm avoiding the news.
Great reason.
No, I always enjoy the classes that I've taken with you and Rabbi, and I feel as though there's still a lot that I need and would like to learn, certainly around the area of prayer and the prayer book. So I thought this would be a good opportunity. And interestingly enough, even though I know we all miss some degree of social contact, doing it on Zoom makes it a little logistically easier after my work day. And I mean, I try and get a walk in after work and then have something to eat.
Right.
So this just sort of makes it a little bit more efficient. So I thought I'd take advantage.
Great. Thank you. All right. Barbie. Hello, Barbie.
I'm gonna unmute myself just for this. I decided to do this for a few reasons, and they're kind of open-ended things. I absolutely love Kabbalat Shabbat, and Sunday Minyan is very important to me. However, I don't look at the prayer book at all, except maybe there's a little, snippet that I might be interested in. And for the most part, I don't know, what everyone is singing along to or what I'm singing along to. So, and part of the reason that I haven't gone deeper into prayer, I don't understand the whole concept of everyone relating to the same words that don't necessarily come from their soul. If that makes any sense. So I'm just open to learn more. I would like to know more about why I enjoy Kabbalat Shabbat. There's something in it. There's something wonderful about at any given moment, thousands, millions, maybe Jews are all doing the same thing together, and or an hour apart, depending on where they are in the globe.
Right.
So.
That sounds great. And you're picking up on some really important themes, like praying and not needing a book, or not relating to the book that we're telling you what page to be on and what prayer to look at and what line we're on, and pray. Now let's pray, right? So that whole thing is gonna, I think, inform a lot of what we do. There's a balancing act that goes on between the two. And I'm going to speak to that, not just tonight, but throughout the course. It's a really important thing to recognize. So that's great.
Could I add a PS to that?
Okay.
There are times during Kabbalat Shabbat where I'm hearing you sing, pray, and you seem so absorbed in it and are relating to the prayer so much that part of me is envious. Now, maybe you're not, feeling it for every word, but that kind of soulful ever
I'm always
connection.
Every moment is infused.
Yeah.
That was gorgeous. What you just said. It was really gorgeous.
Barbie, thank you. I'll speak to that too. I'll definitely, I'll throw in, I will both over the course, I will share, what's going on for me, because I think that's actually important. Some of it you may wish you didn't hear, but seriously, I think it's important, and I'm happy to share it. Claudia, hello. Great to see you.
Hello. So I'm here because I never know what the hell is going on, and to me, the way I get there, wherever there is through music, and singing, and movement. I can't without that. So I'm usually like, and I don't know Hebrew, so I'm usually like sort of like reading what's in the margins, and which is interesting because our prayer book's so great, but the new prayer book, but it just sort of seems to me like you're sort of saying the same thing over and over again, and I don't relate to the text. I love literature, and, so I'm a big reader, so why is it in the sequence? Why are certain prayers, what's the point of the format?
Right.
I don't know. So I think it's, I wasn't bat mitzvahed, so I'd love to learn a little bit.
Well, we're going to do just that. I hope that every time we meet, you feel, and we all feel like, oh, I get it. And not that you get the whole thing necessarily, but that something that you didn't get before is registering, because, and if it's not, raise your hand and say, huh? You know what I mean? Like, and I hope, just parenthetically, that this is a conversation. It's a little awkward on, but it's a small group, and by the way, if it stays small, that's great. This is for us to go as deeply as we can. So I definitely want you to feel like you can interrupt me, or you can, you know, put your little mute, you know, your little Zoom hand up. And just, you know, and we can do it that way too. So that's important. Thank you, Claudia. That's great. Lisa, you are next.
Wait, can I ask us one thing?
Yeah, please.
Somebody else hearing this like sort of low buzzing sound?
I am, and I'm gonna.
What the hell is that?
Getting
on my nerve.
I think it's the person who's on by phone.
That could be. They are muted.
No,
I'm hearing this sort of rhythmic.
Yeah.
It's really kind of
Did
annoying.
you mute all of us?
Has it gone away?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see if that helps. I had a little light on. It might have been me. So let's see. All right. Thank you for noting that. Lisa.
Hi, hey. I guess the reason I'm here tonight is basically a combination of what everyone has already said. I guess, you know, you can read the prayers in the book and the margins. But you know, and I can hear you say that the prayers are freeze dried or anything like that, and make them your own. But I've never learned officially about any of the prayers, so I guess that's why I'm here.
And this, by the way, is an official class of the People Who Love to Pray movement. So it's now official. Okay. This is not some off-brand Chinese prayer class. Okay, this is official and legit. That's great, Lisa, and I always appreciate you being here and what you bring. So great to have you.
Thank you,
Barbara. Hello.
Hi. I am thrilled to be here, and it's lovely to see Lisa, because we were in the bat mitzvah class together a year ago, and I feel like she got me through it. And she used to sit there with me on Saturday morning, and we'd go through the prayer book together, and she'd explain to me where we were in the service and what the reason was that it flowed the way it did, and when you were supposed to do what in terms of standing and sitting and bowing. And I've never forgotten that and never will. I'm so grateful for it. And it's a really great segue into why I'm here, which is that I grew up in a very Jewish household, but not religiously Jewish at all. And I've just had a hunger, really, and I don't know why, and I really don't, to really understand what the prayers are about, why we're saying them, why they are where they are in the service, and to be able to relate to what's going on, because I feel like when I'm at synagogue, as opposed to this, you know, sort of venue, I want to be transported to a different place. I want it to be a whole different experience for me than my everyday life is. And the more connected I can feel and the more I understand, the greater will be that experience. And I really, as I said, I sort of feel hungry for it. So that's why I'm here. And now, to embarrass Harold, that I would take any class you give anywhere, anytime.
Thank you. I will be offering the order of samurai sword construction in the spring. So good luck. I'm just learning, so beware. Thank you, Barbara. That's great. I'm really glad you're here, as always. And Richard.
So I enjoy, like Claudia said, I like to know the sequence of things, why things are said. But I also want to know why we don't say certain prayers, why we jump around. But that's important to me.
Good.
Sometimes when just as a personal note, I read the English, and some of these prayers speak to me, and sometimes they scream at me, and that helps me to drill down a little bit. And then there are other times I read some of these prayers, and it's as if I'll tell you in terms of a movie, of a George Burns movie, Oh God. And at the last scene, John Denver is saying goodbye to George Burns. And George Burns is saying, I have to go to Africa now. And John Denver says, will I ever see you again? He said, no. I said, well, can we talk? And George Burns says, you talk, I'll listen. And so I feel as though some of these prayers have me talking to God and wondering if God's listening. And so I go back and forth between me saying the prayers and me feeling the prayers for myself. And, but other than that, that's it. So I'm looking for a little bit more understanding of the sequence of the things we say. And, you know, whatever happens, happens when I do the prayers.
Fantastic. I'm noticing someone might have like a TV on in the background. If you are that person, turn it up because it sounds good. No, I'm just kidding. You may want to stay muted. Nina, before I get to you, and great to see you, we have a mystery caller, and I believe it might be the same person who's on in the morning. But would you introduce yourself or just say hi? Tell us who you are.
Yes. Hi, Hazzan Harold. It is the same person who attends your morning services. It's Ruth.
Hi, Ruth.
Hi.
Ruth, why are you with us tonight? It's great to have you.
Thank you so much. I also, as many people have said, am interested in knowing more structure of the service and learning more about the individual prayers and to deepen my own prayer practice. I find when I do my own individual prayers with my own words, like during the Silent Amidah, that's one experience. And when we're all singing together, be it muted on Zoom, that's a different kind of experience. So I sort of want to explore all that.
Great. We will definitely be kind of dancing back and forth between what's in the Siddur and what's not in the Siddur, and what we omit and what we do, and what comes, what's on the page, but what's brought in. And we're gonna, you know, it may not be a straight line all the time, but I think we will be able to uncover a lot of those aspects Ruth, that you just mentioned. And I'm really happy you could be with us. Nina, hello. Nina, can you hear me? Nina, can you hear me?
Harold, you went in and out. I don't know if anyone heard you.
I see it. It looks a little frozen. Huh.
Yes, you froze.
I froze? Okay. All right. Oh.
For a minute.
For a minute? All right.
And Nina, oh, she's not muted now. Okay.
Hi, Nina.
Hi.
Just do a quick intro.
Oh,
why are you here tonight? Why, in a sense or two, what brings you here tonight?
I don't know. I just, I feel like my understanding of prayer can be deepened by knowing more about it. I'm not someone who, I sort of do independent prayer during services. When I go to Friday night, it's mostly about the music and what's going on in my head. I hardly even pick up, I don't even pick up. It's all being there in order to sort of have a community when we're physically together, and a sort of internal thought, feeling, experience. And I think that that maybe it's fine. I mean, sometimes I, like the kid who has the comic book and the fourth grade textbook, you know, I have a book of poetry inside the Siddur at the high holidays, you know, and I'm reading something else that does move me. But I think that there is the possibility that what is in the book could move me if I knew more about it.
Right. Well, I think all that is true. And that's part of what we're doing. So thank you, everybody. Did we make sure I got to everybody? Sometimes I missed somebody. Okay. And why? And I said at the beginning why I'm offering this class, and it really is everything that has been said. And really a desire to learn together. So there's definitely a part of it will be me teaching, explaining, and I definitely see that as my role, but I also want to facilitate a conversation as best we can. I'm happy for you to stay muted. There's no requirement to share or speak, but I definitely would encourage questions and comments as we do. So let's go. Let's begin. And, you know, I asked you, what are you seeking in this class? One of the questions that I think is worth asking is why pray? Why do this thing called prayer? And why do it, at least in the Jewish context, at fixed times, 3 daily? Why do them? Why is it, if not, let's say, preferred? Why is it so important that the rabbis who created this whole thing of Jewish prayer, that we do it in community? Why 10 people? Why not 9? Why not 12? What does prayer bring to us that, you know, that we, and why, and a whole book that is constructed to help us? And I want to kind of take that question, and I want to ask you, what are some of the blocks that get in the way for you of prayer? And you can just unmute and then remute in any fashion. I don't need you just to raise your hand. You can just, what are the things that get in your way of a meaningful prayer experience or going deep? Jump right in.
I think when I say it in Hebrew, it's very melodic. I don't have to focus on the words, but I don't know what the words mean. Okay. But just to be separate from any meaning helps me to, you know, separate myself a little bit from reality, and they become sort of a hymn or something else to me. When I look at the English, say, is that what I said? And then when I hear other people say, well, this is how it really reads, you know, there seems to be a disconnect between the English and the Hebrew. That confuses me. So sometimes I'll read the Hebrew and not understand it and be separate and go down into myself, and that's helpful. And sometimes I read the English and there's no connection. There's a disconnect for me.
So a funny way, so in one hand, there's a deeper connection when you don't know what you're saying. And then when you look at the English, because it's your native tongue, it's like, it can become quite problematic. It can take you out of the prayer, right? We want to get in, we want to kind of almost lose ourselves in the prayer. I start reading the words. So great, thank you, Richard. Let's get 1 or 2 more things that block you from. Yeah, Sharon.
I think sometimes just asking the question of what is prayer and what does it mean to pray? Mm-hmm. You know, just that basic.
Right. So I want to, that's a question that's probably going to inform a lot of what we do, but I want to hold us trying to answer that. But it's great. Yes. Just even the question can be a block, right? 1 or 2 other things that get in your way of connecting with prayer.
I think it's for me, it's like being inside gets in the way of everything, which is maybe an odd thing for a designer to say, you know. But and I just if we had daylight and if we had moving air and if we had more space and you could sort of roll around on the floor if you wanted to, that would be better, you know, sort of pretend it's like nursery school or something.
So it's if I hear you, it's both the physical place and what you might or feel limited that you can do in a given space because maybe you're with other people or it's not socially acceptable, or I see you kind of running around, you know, really getting into it with your body. And, you know, the ancient rabbi, the rabbis who wrote these prayers and put them down into a book, they would love you. Although they would be shocked to have you dancing with them back in, you know, wherever they were writing these prayers, because they would think, what is this woman doing praying? She should be, you know, making the dinner. But in 2020, I think that's a great thing, and it's something that you know, it's something to strive for. There's a lot of,
if somebody,
yeah, go ahead.
You know, I mean, if somebody, there's rhythm is definitely necessary. You know, I think it does something to you physically, and, you know, it does something to your brain. So, you know, rhythmic movement. And I think that's like why the rhythmic vocalization is also so incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, I like when I envision, you know, people in the fields, you know, singing, doing something that's a rhythmic thing outside that you don't have to necessarily pay attention to, but it's almost like being in a stream or something.
Right.
And singing, you know, that to me, yes, you know, like.
And what you're saying is that there's prayer, and then there's the prayer book, and sometimes those two have nothing to do with one another, which it might seem like not just contradictory, but sort of anathema, like, well, we have this whole book and it's laid out in a certain order, and we're going to get to that in a few moments. But that's a great thing, right? What you're feeling inside, how you can express that fully in a building, in a room with seats and with order and with, right, there's a lot of mixed messages there, right, that we're sending, and not on purpose, but they're there, and they kind of bump up against each other. I feel you. Let's get one more. Barbara, and then we'll get two more. Barbara and Nina.
For me, the idea of a roadblock is not present at Beth Am, but I've lived in many other cities and belonged to synagogues in each one of them, and it always was in those other synagogues. And before I joined Beth Am, I was at Har Zion, where it almost seemed like everybody had to be on the same passage at the same time, thinking the same thing, experiencing the same thing. And Beth Am is very, I mean, I've never been in a synagogue before where it's okay for someone to admit they're not sure they believe in God. I mean, we're allowed to have our own individual experience based on who we are, where we are, what we come from, right, that could be totally different from anybody else's. So I would say that for me, there is no roadblock because of Beth Am, but in other places there always has been.
That's good. Good to hear that. Nina?
I'm going to say something related to what Barbara said, and also some Richard, and that is, I was going to say that I think theology is a roadblock for me in prayer because of my unsettled response to it. And so by that, I mean, that's why I prefer Friday night to Saturday morning, because in the music, it's sort of like, you know, if the opera's in Italian, it's so beautiful, you know, but they translate it to the English, you know, it's like, yeah. And then I have to deal with the concepts that are being, you know, stated, and I can't.
Right.
So,
good. I mean, thank you for sharing that. That's important. I know that there are places for me each morning where I struggle with some of the concepts that I am not just saying, but leading. And I'll talk about that. So I want to move forward a little bit, and we'll get other people to weigh in on other stuff, I promise. Okay. Let's look at the morning service, because that's where we're going to spend these next, several sessions together. I'm going to share a diagram that I love, and I know I've shared it with others in the past. So if you've seen it before, that's fine. Okay. This is from a book called, and I'll just show you the title. It's on I'm showing it now. It's called what's it called? My People's Prayer Book. It's a 10-volume series, and each volume is a different part of the service. So I want you to follow this circle that this author calls the circle of identity. And I want you just to follow from the middle going down, okay? Just follow from the middle going down. We're going to deal with the words going up in a moment. But these words going down represent the different elements of the morning service, a traditional morning service, starting at the very center. So you have the self and Birkot HaShachar, which translates as the morning blessings. The next block, the next series, and I will email you this photo so you can have it as part of your notes. And this whole thing is being recorded, by the way, and I will have that so you can come back if you want to, access it. Psuke de Zimra, that's two Hebrew words which mean the verses of song. The third rubric, that's the sort of technical term for these things. The third block is the Shema and the blessings that come before and after the Shema. The next is referred to as the silent Amidah, and then the repetition of the Amidah. In traditional synagogues, and I include many conservative synagogues when I say traditional, the traditional practice is to say the Amidah quietly, every word to yourself. And then the Shaliach Tzibor, the prayer leader, the Hazzan, whomever, will repeat the entire thing. And I'll talk about why that happens when we get to that part of the service. But for right now, just know that's the next thing. Then Kedusha, or the prayers of holiness, that's embedded in the Amidah. That's where we go Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. And that series of prayers that there's a bit of a back and forth between the prayer leader and the congregation. Then there's something called Tachanun. And people who are part of the Sunday Minyan will know that there's special prayers, and it's a special time of sort of going deeply contemplative. You cover your eyes. Some people put their head down. Then Torah reading on Torah reading days. And then finally the Aleinu, that final prayer. So now, and only to do this at a glance, because we're going to come back to these things when we touch on each block. But you'll see that these are all in circles and they emanate outward, but there's a constant back and forth between self and community that's going on within this prayer. So what we're actually doing now is we're kind of lifting the hood up and we're looking at one of the deeper layers of the whole morning service. So some of you are asking, like, what's the structure? So this is like the superstructure. And I think it's ingenious. And knowing that it exists, I hope, is not going to get in the way of your prayer. Like, oh, am I in the self? Am I in the community? Where am I? It's not a board game, and there's no winner. But it's just for us to understand that the Jewish traditional prayer service, of which we do a pretty decent job of replicating in some parts, has this built into it, that it's thoughtful and it's laid out. And so one aspect of it is the relationship between self and community. So in the morning, the Birkot HaShachar, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, is self-focused. Then the verses of song, small groups. And then the Shema, community for self, which we'll talk about when we get there. And then the Amidah, self within community, and then community. That is, that these prayers are helping us enact this relationship. And then Tachanun, which is self, but going into a deep introspective place, which is different than the very first thing, the Birkot HaShachar, the self thing. We'll talk about that in a moment. Then reading Torah, which is the Sinai community, because Torah reading even when we do it on the Monday and Thursday, which is the traditional weekday reading, Shabbat, of course, we are reenacting Sinai. We're reenacting Revelation. Every time we open the Ark and take out the Torah, we sing those words, and we're remembering when the Ark was taken around back in the days of the tabernacle and back in the days when Israel was fighting, and that holy Ark that they transported, that's where God was emanating from. That was the belief. And finally, one of my favorite words, the chosen eschatological community, which refers to the days of the Messianic era, the days of eternal peace that the Aleinu evokes, that prayer evokes, when all things will be one. Bayom hahu, Yeh Adonai echad, Ushemo echad, and then the Beth Am tradition, Ushemo echad. Not every synagogue does that, but we do. But that line means that when all of this is, when we're all, as one, God's name will be one. That we're constantly striving for oneness. And that's what's going to happen when we've reached eternal peace and everlasting peace when the Mashiach comes. Okay. So let's zoom in to that center circle and Birkot HaShachar. And before we do that, I want to just check my notes that I'm covering everything. Okay, good. All right. So one of the questions to ask is, how do we turn the Siddur into a tool for deepening prayer and deepening our prayer experience and not getting in the way? So first, we're gonna look at the opening prayer. And now are you all seeing my screen? And I'm flipping so fast. Okay, good. Okay. The very first prayers that we're looking at today, part of this self, are based on prayers that were actually, and a sequence that was written in the Talmud, actually. And the idea was to connect literally what we are doing in our first moments of consciousness from coming out of sleep, all the way to awareness with our eyes, awareness of our body, going to the bathroom for the first time, and then, every other time you would need the bathroom, and a prayer connected with that. But as I've said, and as I say each morning when we're leading the prayer, when we're getting ready to do these prayers, we are doing so to bring awareness to ourselves. We're not concerned with praying for anyone else. This is not a Misha Berach. This is not, I'm thinking of the person in my family who broke his hip. No, we're really just concerned with our own waking up and our own awareness of waking up. So the very first words we say are Modeh Ani. And let me grab my guitar. There are many different melodies for Modeh Ani.
Excuse me, Harold, did you mean to change your screen? Or are we still looking at the circle?
Oh yeah, I did. Thank you. See, I had to reshare. Thank you, Richard. Okay, how's that? Okay. There we go. So Modeh Ani, I'm going to zoom, I'll make it a little bigger. Thank you. Personal prayer upon arising. So Modeh Ani has, the music of Modeh Ani depends on your mood, right? I mean, we could sing Modeh Ani in a minor key. Modeh Ani Lefanecha Ruacha v'kayam. I just changed one of the words, by the way. Modeh ani lefanecha. And the next word is melech, chai v'kayam. Melech means what? What does melech mean? If you know, you can just unmute and say.
King.
Thank you. So,
what was it, please?
Melech,
king.
Melech means king.
Thank you.
Sure. Modani, I thank you, living and eternal sovereign. So right away, there's something interesting going on here. One, I changed a word. I happen to tell you, but if you've been singing this prayer at Beth Am for the last bunch of years, I've been singing Ruach Chai V'Kayam, spirit, living spirit, which is different than eternal sovereign or king. Literally, that the literal translation of Melech is king. But here in Lev Shalem, the people who authored this prayer book have given it a more ambiguous, eternal sovereign. It's not incorrect, but it's a different way of understanding. And that feeds into our conceptual understanding of what this prayer is trying to do. I thank you, living, eternal sovereign, for your kindness in restoring my soul. We sing this at Beth Am in the synagogue, which for sure is, I mean, now, right, you wake up, you put on your Zoom, it could technically be moments after you wake up. But this prayer was not intended to be said in the synagogue. It was intended to be said on your first moments of waking up, that the first thing you would say is you're praising God for restoring your soul. And my question to you is, what is that all about? What is this idea of soul restoration? Claudia, you got a question or a?
No, it just seems to me, it's like, I mean, I don't know how old this tradition is, but it's like saying, oh, you know, you wake up, it's like, oh, good, I'm still alive, you know?
Yeah, quite literally.
Yeah.
There was, yeah, go ahead.
No, it isn't there something about, and I find this quite creepy, but isn't there something about your soul leaves your body at night and then you're reunited with each other in the morning, and that's sort of what this prayer is constructed around, the idea that God has restored your soul to your body.
Yes.
Creepy.
Creepy for you.
Right.
To me, it feels like a preamble to the following Elohim Neshama.
Right.
Which really delves into it.
It for sure. Right. So, and we'll get to that in a second, but just Barbara, to stay with what you said, what's, if you don't mind, and you can defer, but what's creepy about it for you?
I mean, for years when I was in Harzan, I had the same problem with this prayer.
Right.
Because essentially to me, what it means is you kind of die at night and are reborn in the morning.
Mm.
And I have such a horrible time with the concept of death and anything surrounding it that literally I wouldn't fall asleep if I had to think of it like that.
Okay. So definitely lots of what I would call artistic license to interpret this in other ways. And it really could be, as I think Claudia was saying, like, hey, here I am, I'm awake. Not that you died, but there is, just that, yes, when this prayer was conceived, and there's a lot of writing about how the ancient rabbis, and this prayer is quite old, understood that, yes, there is not a literal death, but that your soul goes away. It goes somewhere in our dream world or whatever. And it comes back to us in consciousness and in awakeness.
Is there any substitute that anybody has, the cantor or anybody else, that would be a meaningful image, but a different image that I could, sort of learn to take in over time? I would love that if anyone has one that they use that, isn't quite so dramatic like that.
Claudia, do you want to answer, or are you just unmuted?
Well, I mean, it's, you know, I think it's definitely about, you know, just a certain kind of like conscious awareness, you know.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. I think, Barbara, for me, but before I get to me, anyone else want to weigh in on something that either strikes them right now or that they think about when they're saying this prayer?
I do. I don't say I used to when I was younger. When I don't know, whenever I learned it in Hebrew school. When I wake up, the first thing I usually think about is what I was thinking of the night before when I fell asleep. You know, in times of stress on the crazy planet, you know, that there's that kind of thought, thinking about the reality that happens after I wake up.
Yeah.
And Modani, which I might try saying, is somewhat of an anchor that says no matter what is happening in my world, good, bad, everything in between, this is a steady. This is it's not gonna change. Modani will always be Modani.
Barbie, I love that.
I love that too. Thank you. And you know, at the end words, Rabba emunatecha, this idea of faith, right? How great is your faithfulness? So we're calling out to this, to God, and boy, we will get to God. We will unpack God and God language for sure. But and I'll just say that one of the things that I've tried really hard the last several years for sure is to really own my own understanding of God. And I will share that with you at another time because I think it's important. And I would love all of us to, whether the concept is clear in your mind or completely unclear or troublesome or whatever it is, this idea of faith, your faithfulness, for me, it's not an externalized thing. It's something about, like, especially these last months where it's been hard to get up. It's been hard to get out of bed because there's a lot going on in my dream world that's been tough. But once I can move into that and then say that prayer, something changes. Something changes in playing the guitar really early in the morning, seeing people come on the Zoom, and it moves me out of one space into another space. And there's a faith that comes out of that. And, you know, Richard, I'll address something you said earlier, why I choose to say or not say certain things or repeat certain things over and over and omit large chunks of other things. And honestly, and I'll use Modani as an illustration, there are versions of Modani that incorporate melodies that incorporate all the words of that prayer. I've written some of them. I've borrowed from other people and said, oh, I love that. I love that. And sometimes I've said, oh, I love it because it uses all the words, because that adds something to it for me. And other times, and this was a really hard thing for me to first get many years ago, which was, oh, why aren't you saying all the words? And what was said to me, which I internalize, is I'm just going to really dig in deep on these words, on this word, on this sound. Not the exclusion, right? I have every right and chance to look at the Siddur, add words, whatever. But there's something about that deepening of a short phrase that can be very powerful. And so sometimes it's a choice of, can I go really deep? I have a few minutes to do this thing, right? Or I can say all the words, but maybe I'll miss something. So, you know, there's always there's a trade-off. But for me, a lot of times, especially recently, it's been less is more.
I really appreciate that on our weekday minions. It's like you hit the high points, and it's obvious, and you know, it's up to us to drill down and feel that wherever it takes us.
Right.
But I just want to, right? I say one thing about to Barbara. I don't look at it as dying, this prayer. I look at it just as getting a refresh. Like at the end of the day, I'm exhausted. Either my soul is exhausted or my body is exhausted. And I don't think that I'm dying, but when I wake up refreshed, I feel as though it's been restored. It hasn't left me, it's just been restored and I've got energy again.
Thank you.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah. Both that and Barbie's just really helped me a lot for the first time after all these years. No, seriously, thank you guys.
That's great. Please come back to the next class, Barbara, because there might be more. I don't think you get all your answers first class. Elohai Neshama. Let's move forward. But before I do, any other thoughts about Modani before we go a little more into it? Okay, great. So, all right, I'm opening my screen. All right, I'm looking at my page. Actually, I have the Siddur. I can look at you. Okay. I would hate for someone to be like, I'm waving, and I don't see you. Okay, so Elohai Neshama.
Can I say one other thing? That
Please.
To me?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if, and I don't know if this is intended to refer to this, but if you have if you sleep as long as you sleep and you're not waking yourself up just by an alarm or anything, mm-hmm. and you're allowing yourself to go through all the phases of sleep and dreaming, a lot of the time the deepest kind of intense dreaming is before you wake up. And, when you wake up, I'm a really wild dreamer and I remember all the time. And if you wake up, a lot of the time it's sort of like from that kind of a dream state, a really intense dream state, it's like going from one universe to another. The transition of that.
Yeah.
And this sort of sounds to me like it's also talking about that too. It's like, whoa, here I am, because you just stepped out of another universe.
Yeah.
Because your dream experiences.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Right. We're transported to another world, a world that can feel super real, right? When you come out of a deep, intense dream and you're like, whoa. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you, Claudia. Phyllis Jacobs, hi. My screen was like, I'm not sure even when you joined, but welcome. And so it's good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome aboard. So we have a few minutes left. I want to, I'm asking the class. I know you may have other things to get to at 8:30. So, but I want to go just a little bit further, and I want to acknowledge one that we got through 3 lines. Okay, so good for us. We're not always going to move quite this slow, but it's also okay if we move slow. That's totally okay. If I need to offer part 3, 7, 5, and 9 of this course over the next whenever, so be it. So Elohai Neshama, which appears in this Siddur as the very next prayer, is not always the very next prayer in every Siddur. Sometimes there's a whole series of prayers between Modeh Ani and Elohai Neshama. Sometimes the prayer that we'll look at probably next time below Elohai Neshama, the prayer that talks about what I like to call the bathroom prayer, the prayer that you quite literally say, or that you're meant to say right after you go to the bathroom, because it talks about all the openings and closings. But in this Siddur, they put the soul, Elohai Neshama, first and then the body, which is a very conscious, deliberate choice, not the choice of many other prayer books, traditional, not traditional. So when it says Elohai Neshama shenatata bi tehorahi, my God, the soul that you have given me is pure. You created it, you formed it, you breathed it into me. You watch over it when it is in me, and in the future, you will take it from me. Now remember,
that goes to Richard's explanation. I like that. It fits.
Right. Good. Yeah. Totally fits.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, not at all. I just want to remind everyone that these prayers are, you are literally you're still in bed saying these prayers in a traditional framework of prayer. So while it's considered part of Birkot HaShachar, those, as I say, the morning blessings, these are really, before you would arrive at the synagogue, you will have said these prayers as part of your becoming aware, literally from sleep into, awakeness. And the prayer gets pretty heavy. In the future, you will take it from me, but then restore it to me in the world that is coming. So there's a whole allusion here to the Olam Haba, the world to come, the messianic time, the time after, which, if you remember our circle, is the sort of that final prayer, the Aleinu prayer, is hinting at that quite directly. Like, this prayer is praying for the world to come when everything is one, everyone's good. It's mentioned here at the very beginning too. As long as this soul is within me, I thank you, Adonai, my God, God of my ancestors, ruler of all creation, master of all souls. Baruch atah Adonai, who restores the soul to the lifeless form. And yeah, Richard, I mean, I think your way of understanding that is helpful. It takes.
I happen to so love this prayer. I carry it with me. It's just amazing. It has so many different layers to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Really carry it with you? Oh my God, that's fabulous.
Oh, I just do. And even the English is different here in other places where it just gets more flowery and descriptive.
Huh.
And there's a beautiful prayer that I've said many times, sort of as to add, which is in the Siddur along that far column. And one of the things that we'll talk about, and I'll mention it here as a way of sort of bringing us to a close tonight, is there are two big concepts in Jewish prayer that are always not in competition, but they're always out there for us to wrestle with. And one is called keva, and one is called kavanah. And if you've had any experience with Jewish prayer or classes on Jewish prayer, you've definitely heard these terms, but I'm going to tell you what they mean and how they play in any given prayer, at any given moment in prayer. So one is, keva means the set fixed prayers, and kavanah means the intention, or what we might call the spontaneous aspect of prayer. And that is really what I think is, what is art, right? We could talk about that for 3 hours or a lifetime. But what makes something artful for me is that we are giving it intention that we otherwise would not give it, right? So we can take anything and just say it. We can sing it. We can sing it beautifully, and have it completely lack intention, just go through the motions. And, to what Claudia said earlier, like, I'm saying these prayers, same prayers every day, the same prayers. You're right. And the trick is, or the art of it is, how do I turn that thing I'm doing every day and deepen it and give it intention and infuse it with spontaneity and life? And that is the opportunity within prayer, within a moment within prayer, to do that. And that's the dance of the keva, the fixed prayers, the prayers that are in this book that we started to look at, and unpacking that meaning and giving a word or a moment or a note meaning that otherwise it's just flat. It's just a one-dimensional thing. And in these very early parts of the morning, it's this very lucid kind of space. I mean, I know for me leading, it's like, I'm awake. Don't get me wrong. I've had my, you know, glass of water, and I've done my vocal exercises, and I'm tuning my guitar. But I'm a different person at that moment than I am 45 minutes later. And I know that because, or I know I've done what I'm doing with intention if I feel that. If I'm kind of, you know, and if you come any prayer service, I truly, I have my prayer book, but I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how many times I'm going to repeat a word. I don't know which tune I'm going to use for this or that thing, or which pop song is going to come in my head, or that's all unscripted and very consciously so. And the invitation is that we can all enter into prayer that way. We can all just bring ourselves, you know, let's see what happens. And that's a big ask, but that's what's out there. The potential for that is there. And that's, I think, the beauty of the entire experience of prayer on a given morning or Kabbalat Shabbat. But you can even get down to the part of the prayer. So we're talking about the morning prayer, the Birkot HaShachar, and a blessing within, and a word within that, and a letter within that, or a sound within that. And all of a sudden, you could be somewhere else. Okay, that's my big speech about Kevan Kavanah. We have the Siddur, we have the fixed prayers that the rabbi said you have to say them in a certain order, in a certain way. And then there's you overlaying onto that. And then there's the us, there's the group that's doing it together. And on that note, at 8:36, we're going to say farewell. But farewell means this. So two things. Number one, I will save this session, God willing, it recorded. I think it did. Then I will put us all on a list. So we'll kind of we'll form a group, and we'll be able to share ideas, and I'll be able to share resources like some of the things I put up on the screen. I will also be sending out to you some questions. I'll do this tomorrow. And I'm inviting you to consider hooking up with someone as a study partner. What does that mean? It can mean whatever you want it to mean. Ideally, I'd love to give you a text to look at and to bring that back into our conversation for next week. Maybe, and you can just say, hey, we're in the class together. Hi. You want to find, half an hour, 45 minutes to Zoom together. Got some questions that I'll put out for you on a given prayer, and you can go for it. And like I said, if you want to just connect with me about something, we can set up a Zoom time with any one of you, or if you want me to meet with a smaller group, we can do that too. So that, I think, will give us a nice way to connect. So it's not just a month where we're not seeing each other in this class, but where you guys have been in contact, you've been in touch with me, we're sharing ideas in between. And that's optional, but I'd love you to take advantage of that. I think it'd be a great way for us to be together, deepen our learning together, and do that. And the last thing I want to do, just for this next month, between now and the next time we meet, if you're part of our morning davening, great. I invite you to come to that whenever you can. Check it out. Come pick a day, right? Maybe it's like, okay, I'm going to come Tuesday. That'll be my day. I'll come as much as I can on Tuesday. I'll stay for as long as I can. It's 9 to 9:45, and it's great. I mean, it's a lot of fun, and it's a nice way to start the day. Or if you're like me, it's 3 hours after your day started, but it's still a nice way to be together. Anyway, come to that. So number one, find a study partner or check in with me between now and the next time. Number two, pick a morning and try it out. That's the second invitation. Number three, pay attention to how you feel in the morning and see if you can incorporate some of this morning stuff. That is to say, these very early prayers, Modeh Ani, Elohai Neshama, the bathroom prayer that that is right, below that, the prayer about the openings and the closings of the body. See what it feels like to have that be part of your awareness over this next month till we meet again. How does that sound?
Good.
Good. Any questions, Barbie?
I don't have a Siddur.
Okay.
I would even consider buying one, or if they're not available, I guess I could arrange something with Lori where she could put the Siddur where I could.
Absolutely.
No contact Siddur borrowing.
The Siddurim are yours. That is to say, the Siddurim that Belletta in the sanctuary are yours to take, to borrow, to use. So all you got to do is call Lori and say, "Can I come grab a Siddur?"
Yeah,
that's true for anybody.
Thank you.
We've expanded our space, so please, that would be great. And yeah, if you feel like you want to buy a Siddur and have it, so you can make notes in it or whatever, that's totally up to you. But you can take one and borrow it, extended loan, okay? And one day soon, hopefully, we'll be able to have you bring it back, and use it there. But having a Siddur at home is great. So yes, a Siddur is a great resource. I will list some of the other books that I'm drawing sources from. Some of the things that I've mentioned are part of the IJS Institute for Jewish Spirituality course that I've done a lot of work with. And I'm in a course right now, which is kind of mirroring what we're doing. So, for the next for each week, we're doing a different part of the morning service with all kinds of stuff. So I'll be bringing some of that in as well, which is great. Yes, Nina.
Just for the moment, I was wondering if you could, in the things you're posting, just post this first page. I do have a Siddur in Philadelphia, but I'm in Eastern Shore, Maryland.
Okay.
And so this would be a way to begin to use practicing these prayers.
Great. What I will do is I will actually send all of you the entire PDF of the morning service, and that you'll just have it, and you can, print it out, whatever, make notes as you wish. Happy to do that.
Thank you.
Anything else? Any other questions or things? All right.
How do you want us to figure out who's partners with whom?
Oh, I could assign you. I could just invite you to kind of like, I'll have all your emails on that note, but I can just do it. How many are we? And some of you may not want to do that, which is also okay. So you can let me know. When do I send this email to everybody? In fact, Ruth, will you do me a favor? I don't know, Ruth, if you're near a computer, but I want to get your information. I'm going to stop the share for a second.
Okay, why don't you randomly assign, and if someone doesn't want to do it, then they can join with someone else.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I can do that. All right, so I think that let me wait. Let me look at the chat. There's some chat notes. Okay. Okay, that was about the circle. Okay. Anyway, so Claudia, let me figure that out.
Okay.
You're all very nice people. So I think, and I'm asking really, by all means, if you want to meet more than one time between now and then, great. But if it ends up being just once, and that would also be fine. I think it'd be really nice. So I'll work on getting you all partnered, and then I'll leave it up to you guys to work out when and how and all that stuff.
You could put all of our names on a little piece of paper, put them in your kippah.
Yes.
And randomly draw them.
All right, I could do that. Trust me when I say I will not put much thought into who's going to be partnered with who. Okay, just don't worry about it. Hey, Ruth. Yes.
An image of Keva and Kavanagh.
Yeah.
There's actually a dance sequence that I think is a really fun, amazing little sequence. If I can find a link to it, I'll give it to everybody. It's because it's the same choreography, two very, very different dancers doing it together. It's Baryshnikov and the tap dancer who died.
Gregory Hines.
Gregory Hines. It's from White Knights. It's
I love that scene. Oh my God.
It's kind of a stupid movie, but this dance sequence is
definitely share that.
Amazing. You know, it's like, I think it's what we're talking about, what you were talking, and the meaning of this prayer. It's like a visual.
I love it.
Expression of what I think this. I just need visuals a lot. You know, this is so. I'll find it. It's incredible.
I love that movie. Don't tell me it was corny.
It was a great movie. That was a great movie.
I mean, it probably was really corny. I was 12 or 14 when it came out.
Yeah, it's just
that's funny. That's great.
Billy Crystal and
no, not Billy Crystal. That's a different.
Who was that?
No,
that's Scared Straight. Oh no, that's that's where they played the two cops.
Yeah, that wasn't that White Knight.
White Knight
with Gregory Hines.
No, it's about Barishnikov's you know.
It's like Cold War Russia and
yeah. All right.
I know what Richard's thinking of. That was a mediocre cop movie. Claudia, please share that. That's awesome. And I know like we have writers here. We have visual artists in this group. Any source of inspiration is fair game. Anything that can help us into this world is great. So feel free to share stuff once I get this list going. That would be fantastic. Good night, everybody. Thanks for staying on.
Bye. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Harold.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Ruth,
good night.
Good night. Ruth, if you're still there, stay on for a moment so I can get your email.
Bye, Ruth. Good night.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night. Hi, Ruth.
Hi. It's
Hang on.
I can give it to you. I can't send it to you directly right now.
Yeah, go ahead. Just say it and I'll repeat it back.
It's all one word. Pathlight, PATHLIGHT.
Pathlight.
360 at gmail.com.
All right. Hang on. Ruth, what's your last name?
STOLZ, as in zebra.
S?
S as in Sam.
Yeah.
T as in Thomas.
Yeah.
O as in Oscar. L as in Larry. Z as in zebra.
Stoltz. Okay. Pathlight360 at Gmail.
Right. You can capitalize the P and the L. I don't think it's case sensitive.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Glad you were part of this, and I'll look for the email tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
You got it. All right, have a good night.
You too. Thanks so much.
You got it. Bye.
Bye-bye.